come good for them. But as you can see, Ziggs and LeBlanc have been banned pretty much straight away.
Yeah, to be honest, not too surprising. I mean, there's some of perhaps 9 champions that can be banned, and you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of standard. We've seen a lot of mid lane focus here, actually, and LeBlanc, Cassidy, and Kayle banned very quickly. This leaves Braum and Lucian available. In this situation, we've seen teams forced into one of the two, because the two passives work so well with each other. You land the Winter's Bite from Braum onto a target. Lucian follows up, gets those 2 auto attacks, and you're 1 auto attack pretty much away from a guaranteed stun. So GSI, unless they have something that they really desperately want as a first pick here, have their hand forced into either Braum or Lucian. Otherwise, they pretty much forfeit bottom lane.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and you can see them deep in thought. With 15 seconds to go, Lucian, there you go.
Yeah.
So, do you think, therefore, that Faculty are just going to be like, okay, Braum, we have to pick Braum right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we saw in, I believe it was the Challenger games that we had between NIP and Gamers 2. It was very much this way of, here we'll pick a jungler that is very strong, our choice, and Braum, because otherwise we let you have Lucian Braum. And, this is all common knowledge to the players. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
It's not like us talking about this is really going to affect anything, because you have to assume the players would be aware of how strong that bottom lane combination is. In even moderately capable hands, it is incredibly strong.
Definitely the case, but still they are waiting. They're using all of that allocated time to put their minds together and try and come up with a potential counter. In fact, they're not going to go for the Braum. They're like, okay, we're cool with you having that. We'll just pick ourselves Elise and also Irelia.
That's kind of interesting to me, because, I mean, one thing that will work in against GSI here is 2 of the typical lane matchups against Irelia that do very well are Lulu and Kayle in that top lane. And GSI actually banned both of those out. So picking Irelia here is a somewhat safe pick. She's able to now essentially go into laning phase knowing she's not going to get horrendously bullied out again and again. So it's okay in that respect. I kind of would like to see GSI pick up Braum here and then their jungler perhaps. I mean, it depends what they want to wait to look for. They could go with an Orianna. Orianna's always safe in the middle lane. But I feel like there are probably better mid lane picks right now than an Orianna.
Yeah, and they found out in the previous game that Orianna can bite, and bite incredibly hard. Oh, they're hovering over Yasuo. Is that a pick that you'd have been happy with? I saw you kind of motion.
That actually would have been one of the picks that I think could have done a lot of work for GSI. We saw SK run it earlier. It's incredibly strong, that synergy.
Yeah, we definitely did see it earlier on. And Nivio would be an interesting pick, if nothing else. Does a pretty similar job to a lot of the other champions that Sigurd plays. He mains Ziggs, for example. So lots of wave clear, lots of anti-sieging capabilities, as we brought up earlier. But actually, potentially going for their bot lane of both Twitch and Lucian. Twitch available once again. Lucian's only been banned in 1 game, I believe. Everything else he's been played in. That was last game.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. Now, Thresh will do okay against Braum. Of course, Thresh has a good set of range on his auto attack, so can actually kind of harass Braum back. If he steps too far out, you can hook him in. You get a lot of somewhat control over that bottom lane. Braum is still quite the beast in lane. Yeah. Still has that ultimate at level 6. Still can block projectiles. Still can jump to a teammate. So it's not like a hard counter, but a good Thresh should, in theory, beat a good Braum.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Thresh, of course, is going to have the advantage in the sense of being able to just go and harass. Constantly get in there, give a quick auto attack, run away, give a quick auto attack, run away. And with Twitch as well, that is a pretty scary, very potent combination. They've got Elise, who's a good ganking jungler, so they can turn this one around to bot lane. And maybe that's one of the reasons why, when they were given the opportunity of picking Braum, they turned it down. They were like, no, it's all right, we can deal with this.
Now, we've spoken a little bit about how Twitch and Thresh, is given that comfortable exit with Dark Passage. I wonder how that's going to come into play with things with regards to the stuns that are going to come out there. Yeah, I was kind of expecting this, more Shyvana. And actually, I believe we're pretty much 1 or 2 champions away from the SK composition that they ran earlier. They had Shyvana, I believe they had Eve and Yasuo alongside Braum as well. So, I mean, the Orianna's fine. Don't get me wrong. Orianna is never a bad pick, ever, in that mid lane. Because every single lane Orianna has is a skill matchup. She's such a consistent champion that it's very difficult to bully her out. So, it's fine. But Karthus, a reworked Karthus here, has been locked in.
All right. I like it.
See, now as for the rework, the ultimate always catches me off guard because I'm like, why are the whole team recalling?
Yeah, that also me, because before it was red, right? Just a red line, danger, threat, death. And now it's like almost a cyan kind of color. Cyan color.
I quite like the new, I want to say Skittle animation, but, the lay waste. Nearly forgot that then. It's been a while since I've casted Karthus, but the new lay waste animation is pretty cool. Haven't seen a lot of Karthus against Orianna, but that just screams to me farm. It's kind of that, early Season 3, Season 2 style, heavy farm. I'm going to take Wraiths. I'm going to take everything, get farmed, and then late game, Karthus becomes that massive hyper carry.
I got to say, I love watching Karthus for that reason. It's like you get to mid to late, and then you almost want to die. You want to go stupidly aggressive so you can then pop your ultimate and everything afterwards, or rage ult, as a lot of people call it in solo queue. So definitely an interesting comp, and when you consider they've also got the Twitch and Irelia, man, that's a lot of targets and a lot of threat to deal with.
It is, and there's actually another thing that this Karthus is going to help them out with, and that's, of course, Defile has this zoning area. They'll also have the zoning from the wall that Karthus will put down, but when you have a Twitch, you need to try and protect him as much as possible. Typically, you'll see that from a champion like Kayle or Lulu, somebody that's going to really allow Twitch to survive. This is kind of a spin on that, with the fact that now they have to dive through Defile. And any time where you have to cross through Karthus Defile to get to your target is a very bad situation. You zone so much of that area away that diving on Twitch could become a problem here, especially with Thresh to keep him safe.
What are your thoughts then? Because you did kind of touch on this before about Karthus against Orianna and mid. How do you feel that's going to work out? Are they both just going to be happy to farm that lane?
I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking that it really is just going to be farming.
Yeah.
It's completely farming. That's what normally a Karthus would do. That's what an Orianna loves to do. We saw it last game. Not only did Orianna farm kills in that game, but was also about 50 CS up on a lane opponent. So, it's both champions have that in their comfortable sector now. Really interesting thing, actually, and I believe I just want to check what the countdown timer is for this, because I don't want to mention it before we're into the game. But summoners are something a little bit different. We'll touch on it when we're actually in the game. There's a couple of summoners in this that really is very different from what we've seen in recent times. And as long as the guys are into the loading screen, which they are, typically you don't see a lot of Ignite on Karthus because your killing tool is Requiem. Similarly, you don't see a lot of Ignite on Orianna because she doesn't really need it that much.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So you've got two hyper aggressive mid laners now. Because normally, as you say, it would be like an exhaust. We've even seen heal for characters like Nidalee, for example. Ignite is like a declaration of intent. I want to farm kills. I'm not interested in being defensive. I'm going offensive. And when you get two mid laners with that same mentality, it makes for a bit of a fireworks display. So I'm definitely going to be keeping a keen eye on mid.
Yeah, it's one lane to keep an eye on, but at the same time, I don't really expect a lot to happen. Yeah. I expect a lot of the coordination that we used to see TSM have, where, those ganks around Karthus level 6 happen elsewhere on the map, but, the Karthus Requiem is there to actually deal that final blow.
It's always great to see the crowd
enjoying the League of Legends action, and I believe that means we are getting ready to head into the game. We are in the loading screen indeed. So this is do or die for GSI, and you have to think it's pretty much a similar situation for N Faculty. Am I right in thinking they are 1-for-1 currently in the group?
Yeah.
So it's the difference between likely taking a temporary second place spot and then having it go down to a head-to-head, or being in that third place spot, and then the head-to-head really goes against you.
Yeah, that's a key point. I was focusing more on GSI, but you're totally right that this is just as important for N Faculty. Both teams are coming into this with the mentality of, we have to win this game. The only team that I would say is pretty safe right now is SK Prime with 2-0. But even then, if things happen...
Yeah, so to talk about that, if GSI win this game, then SK are safe.
Right.
Because there's no way 3 teams can be 2-1.
Yeah.
If Faculty win and SK lose to Roughnecks, 3 teams are at 2-1. So, all on these last... Well, of course it's all on these last 2 games. That's why they're the last 2 games that we're playing. But that puts it in perspective for you guys.
So, here we go. Are the nerves going to show here? Are both teams going to buckle under the pressure, or are they going to stand tall? I mean, this is normally, these kind of situations are where you really do separate the kind of wannabe teams from the really, truly challenging kind of teams.
You wanted to say the men and the boys, didn't you?
I pulled out. I'm sorry.
Oh, well. You didn't go with the well-known saying. It's okay. I'm really interested to see how in this game, the very highly thought of bot lane of Lucian Braum is going to do. Because, I mean, very rarely do you even see it allowed through in the recent games. So the fact that we've got it here, it is pretty interesting here. So GSI on the blue side, Faculty on the red side. This is the last group game for both of these teams. Let's see who's going to make the first impact here as bottom lanes. They're hunting each other here.
They are hunting each other, but I don't think Eva and Crystalland, they don't have enough space to secure that kill. And Braum is very, very tanky as well, it has to be said. In the very early stages, has gone for the Targons. So, pretty standard. Nothing here that's really jumping out at me.
You can see, however, the pressure that Mountain is able to put down on Heaver. By the fact of that extra range in lane, he's able to just really start putting down the auto attacks onto Heaver and force him to be a little bit more careful about where they engage and how they engage. And watch for that during the laning phase as they start getting the extra levels. Watch for how that auto attack harass is really going to start changing things up.
Well, Sigu and Perks already are just smashing it out in the middle of the lane, so kind of going across with their summoner spells that we were talking about previously. Both of them have Ignite. And I have to feel that, on particular, for the side of GSI, they're going to want to camp that mid, because Karthus is very susceptible to good ganks.
Yeah, he is. At the same time, I feel like if they put too much focus on mid, and around that level 6, as we were talking about, they start getting those Karthus-assisted ganks in other lanes for Faculty. That can actually start to work against you. If you really don't punish Karthus hard enough, and you've spent a lot of jungler time, you can actually end up kind of turning it back on itself, and Karthus with a couple of kills is just insane. That's
very true, and of course he can get kills regardless of his position with the Requiem. If someone's low, just finish them off and suddenly you're right back into the game. So in a way, I guess maybe he'd even welcome the camp in mid if he can turn it around.
Yeah, and that being said, the radius on the cast range of Lay Waste is huge. It's so big that, you know, there are very few situations where if you're playing conservatively, you should actually be caught out. I mean, it's possible, but I would kind of expect if you pick Karthus in this situation, you'd know exactly how he's going to work out here.
Alrighty. Well,
Hook in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Hook is going to be... Well, I was going to say he's going to be followed up, but the poison not quite landing there from Cedric. Still, though, they're keeping them on their tippy toes. It's like, hey, give me a chance, I will land these death sentences.
Wall came out in the middle lane. Perks takes a bit of damage. That's going to be the end of that engagement. Nothing too much there, but you can see that already they're trying to focus this game on towards their mid laner of Karthus, because if you can get an early lead, we've seen what Karthus can do in the late game. He will really just shred through anybody that sits in that defile.
Yeah, definitely the case. So let's see if Karthus can make some plays. Also, important to mention that we have Irelia and Shyvana at top. Haven't really talked about that too much because it's by and large, I would assume, going to be a farming frenzy. I can't see a lot of kills coming down there without the jungler.
There is a lot of pressure being put on this middle lane tower, and do they know that Taiki is there? Yeah, they do. He did reveal himself, so I believe that means... No, Obvious is actually going to go aggressive here. They're going to fight in the jungle.
They are. Taiki so far is coming out second best, and Repel was used from Obvious. Another Cocoon lands, but with Perks being so close, I mean, it's just a case of forcing him away out of his own jungle.
Look at the pressure out from Sigu. He's actually forced Perks all the way back now to the fountain. And, you know, every Karthus lane kind of tends to be a race to 6. The faster that Sigu can get 6 over Orianna, you know, it doesn't affect his lane too much, but if he can get that extra time in lane, make sure he's getting as much CS as possible, get to level 6, start helping out in other lanes, every second counts with that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also, every second that he's forcing Orianna out of lane is another second away from Shockwave, which, as we saw in the previous game, is a massive turning point, especially if you can land it onto multiple players. So Death Sentence comes out, narrowly avoided from Grizzland, as he will relentless pursuit his way back to safety.
Yeah, just got himself away there, but you can see already how Cedrian and Mountain are piling pressure on in this lane. It's still fairly even for the most part. There's a very slight CS lead on End Faculty, but that's going to kind of get evened up as this lane is going to continue. But to be honest, it's even pretty much across the board right now. Junglers have a slight lead in favor of GSI, whereas over on the mid lane for End Faculty, they have a similar lead themselves. So it's a slow start to this game, but any game that has a Karthus typically is going to start this slow because he just is a late game champion.
Yeah, Unbreakable being used from Heaver there just to negate some of the damage that was firing to Chrisland, alleviating as much pressure as possible. Farm is pretty much identical, 51 to 52, but here's Taiki looking for a potential gank. That is going to be Q landing Winter's Bite, but Dark Passage once again. One of the reasons why Twitch is so strong with Thresh, it kind of eliminates his lack of mobility, but actually they're going to cancel the recall from Taiki, being a bit of a scumbag. Are they going to be able to secure the kill? No. Exhaust was used, and actually Death Sentence underneath the tower. That was absolutely massive for a Mountain. And will force the flash. Here comes Obvious from the side as well. Maybe a bit too much damage to contend with.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too much, and actually a good job here in the middle lane. I believe Orianna actually put the pressure on Siju, so he wasn't actually able to get a Requiem out there, because now that Shockwave's available, it's fairly easy to disrupt that cast, and it's a long cooldown at level 1. Requiem from level 1 does not do the most amount of damage and has a significantly long cooldown for being actually effective. So End Faculty weren't able to get that counter gank on, but to be honest, they didn't really expend anything for it either.
Yeah, talking about long cooldowns, 192 seconds.
Yeah.
Over 3 minutes. That is pretty huge.
It is. And when you think in 3 minutes, that's potentially a dragon fight. That's potentially towers falling. And, you know, if they waste a cooldown like Requiem, that's not a good thing for their composition. They really need to get the first Requiem as an important one.
Because then you don't have to fear the Karthus as well, so it allows you to play a bit more aggressive. You can see right now that a lot of the players are lumped around the Dragon Pit. Oh, it's going to be Heaver and Taiki actually exchanging blows with Obvious. There's the Command Protect coming in. Sigu doesn't have a great deal of mana, and Obvious does manage to survive just about with the Dark Passage. It's been a very high skill level game. Sigu's now actually coming under fire from Perks. This could be the first blood. Flash away, but the Shockwave connects.
Shockwave, but is it actually going to pay them back? How much damage does Requiem do? Is he going to channel it? No, he's not. I was going to say, it looked like once you calculated MR, once you calculated the actual amount of damage, it was barely not quite enough. I mean, I think we're talking about maybe 20 damage would have been in it, but knowing the limitations of the champion at that time, level 1 Requiem, not the most powerful, wouldn't have got the kill, held onto it, whereas, you know, maybe some people would have ended up using that.
Yeah, the Rage Ult, as we called it before.
Oh, actually, it was used. We didn't catch it. Braum ends up falling behind his turret. And again, halfway across the map, I looked at you, didn't look at the screen, didn't see the Requiem, but there we go. There's that first kill picked up.
And that highlights exactly why he didn't pop it before.
Yeah.
Because he was waiting for that moment for Twitch, as it turned out to be, to just get someone low enough to make the most of that. Blue buff is so good for Sigu on Karthus, not just because he can spam lay waste, but of course the cooldown reduction for the Requiem as well. Taiki was in a bit of a pickle there, but he will flash away.
He will indeed, and it is about time for that first dragon of the game. Braum still not really back into lane from being taken out by the Requiem, so this should be an uncontested dragon here for End Faculty, and it's a good start. We already talked about how their objective control has been good in the games, and they start that off once again here.
Bit of poke from Grizzland onto Cedrion, but nothing too bad. CS advantage is slightly starting to snake into Lucian's way. He's got about a 12 CS advantage. Pronbear has been caught out of position around the red buff, but Obvious is there to try and fill in the gaps. Ooh, Wall of Pain does connect. Cocoon was flashed in from Obvious. That will force the flash from Perks.
It will indeed, and the fight, I believe, is about to continue as Taiki finds Siju.
Yeah, turning this one back around again. Sigu, though, is doing a lot of damage, so they have to be careful. You got to respect Karthus, especially with the blue buff, because those lay wastes will be coming out thick and fast, and of course you can keep the file up even longer. So, smart play, they will back on the way. This is going to be a lot of damage, though, to the bottom tower, while Twitch does try and regain his position.
Yeah, especially in a situation like that, where Evelyn was kind of an isolated target, so it's very easy to get that, the high damage from those lay wastes. And I thought for a second there that End Faculty were going to lose their bottom tower as a return to that harass that was put down onto Cedrian, but they end up not quite taking it to GSI. And I feel like that maybe was a slight misstep, that GSI didn't just force that tower in. They had the culling available. Culling for a tower is, a cooldown that is very much worth it, with the fact that there's likely no big team fights coming up.
Yeah, with Dragon no longer being available.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that, but obviously Chrisland and Eva have their reasons for not smashing that one down. Maybe they are looking for a potential gank. Evelyn is on the way to bot lane.
I see what you did there.
Did you?
Chrisland, reason.
Oh, I actually didn't mean that one, but I'll take it. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. I think Reason Gaming here tomorrow.
Yeah. X Meet Your Maker team, if you're not sure.
So what that joke was an X Reason Gaming.
A joke, by the way, I didn't mean to make.
Sure you didn't. Sure you didn't. But it was a bad joke nonetheless, and we are going to continue on in this game because there is actually quite the disparity in bottom lane in favor of GSI, and there is the ultimate out of Brawl.
Yeah, Glacial Fissure lands on both, but look at this. Suddenly both junglers are very in close proximity. That's Thresh getting smashed down, and now Taiki has to turn tail and run. Cocoon's landed. Death Sentence lands as well. Huge plays, and Taiki does fall. At least takes down the kill. They'd have probably preferred that on Cedrian, but a kill's a kill nonetheless.
Here comes Cedrian, though. He's sneaking in, and Heaver's low.
Oh, he's okay.
He's okay.
And behind Braum actually comes good there, and he will manage to survive. But still, a kill for nothing.
Yeah, kill for nothing. Requiem was used during that fight. Went off just before Obvious picked up the first kill there. But it's a somewhat low kill game, to be honest. We're nearly 13 minutes in. We've had one dragon go down, and it's 2 kills to 1. No towers. And it's really just been the farm game that we were talking about. Mid lane is pretty much the farm game. Bottom lane has been a farm game. Just everywhere across the map. Not really wanting to fight.
Yeah, and the farming will continue. Top lane, as you're talking there, both ultimates were popped. The Dragon's Descent and Transcendent Blades from Irelia. And Mozilla is actually going to stay towards the top. That's mainly because Evelyn is on the way up, so maybe they're thinking about a tower dive, but I'm not too sure about this one.
I'm not too sure about it either, but Pronbear is quite low.
We'll be backing away, okay. That's the right call.
I was going to say, both Pronbear there and Taiki started to back away, but Pronbear came back to lane.
Oh, Shockwave in mid, lands on Obvious. There's the repel back towards his own minions, but Perks is hungry for this one. Needs to be careful. There's Karthus. And indeed, Obvious will just about survive.
Ooh, barely there. And even the Ignite was used. And anytime you use an Ignite and end up not getting the kill, especially on a champion like Orianna, who we talked about, really kind of recently benefits from that consistency of having a defensive summoner. It is a little bit of perhaps, not a wasted summoner, but not using it to its potential that really should have. So, I mean, yes, they get Obvious low, but unless something comes from that, it's not really that big of a play. But GSI right now, 1,500 gold behind. And End Faculty are kind of just holding now. They've got their core items onto Karthus, and with a Tear of the Goddess, that is a very late game oriented Karthus. It's one of the couple of ways that you can end up building him, and Tear is kind of a statement of intent that when we get to the late game, I'm going to not die for a while because I've got Rod of Ages and Seraph's Embrace, and then I'm going to die and kill all of you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, actually, in a nutshell. And if they allow him to keep farming, that's exactly what's going to happen, because they have the follow-up damage from Twitch as well. They have Irelia jumping in the back lines, and Elise is just very good all around. So I kind of want GSI to step into the next gear and try and start to force fights.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's perhaps a bit of a clock on this. When you consider Irelia, good late game, Twitch, great late game, Karthus, made for the late game, the later and later this goes, GSI really need to start building a little bit of speed in this. They need to start forcing objectives. They need to start getting favorable trades and really start hammering things home, because unless they start picking up towers from at least the outer ring, it's a difficult game for them the longer this goes.
Let's see if they do kick it up a notch right now. Prombear and Mozilla going at it. Dragon's Den is available, so Mozilla should be A-OK. And also, interesting enough, no towers have fallen yet. And that is certainly below average in how the games have been today. Normally, 5 to 10 minutes, we see the first tower or two falling.
Yeah, and that very much is the case. And again, I kind of feel like that has to favor M Faculty, because I mean, okay, they're not getting anything from it themselves, but they're just pushing this later. That's really all it's doing. And there's a lot of Doran's items out on N Faculty. It's giving them a lot of trading potential in lane, especially in that top lane. You're starting to see Irelia start to bully out Mozilla here and there, and isn't anywhere near that Trinity Force being completed, but the 3 Dorans is really giving that fighting power.
Yeah, definitely. There are 8 Dorans on the map altogether. Prombear's been engaged upon. Transcendent Blades come out. Flash from Mozilla. Flash from Prombear as well. Can Mozilla make up the distance? Equilibrium Strike says no, and he will back away. Very, very close, though.
Yeah, saying that, if Shyvana has a completed Sunfire Cape and teleports back into lane and you haven't gone and bought in a while... Oh, it was the turret going down, actually. I was going to say Shyvana actually got the kill there. I was like, Prombear, I'm sure you went back. But
I was going to say, you're getting quite excited over the last hit of a tower.
Power kills. It's the new champion kills.
There you go.
You know, we played the objective game here. Let's get excited over tower kills. But nevertheless, it's a dragon attempt coming out from M Faculty.
Yeah, keyword so far is attempt, and it has just been finalized. They do get the dragon. Sigu is going to take quite a bit of punishment. Nice cocoon, though, from Obvious. Flash in from Taiki, I believe that was. And Sigu also will flash away. Will be a kill on Karthus. Oh, we're going to see the Requiem coming out. Here we go. Lots of damage. Can they secure anything off this one? Yes, Perks goes in. Get another kill as well onto Lucian. Double kill from Elise. And it all remains on Hiva. And also... on top of that, of course, Shyvana at top, who is pushing that tower very aggressively, it has to be mentioned, so they could get an objective off this.
Wall of Pain was great for just kind of zoning out that entrance around blue buff there in that bottom side jungle, but the fact of the matter is, without that magic resist after it's been shredded away, that Requiem actually did considerable amount of damage when you take into account that I don't believe... Actually, no, it was a level 2 Requiem, so, I mean, it did a decent amount of damage for the items at the time, and from there, it's easy to follow up on that. And now it's a case that N Faculty have got a few more kills from that. Yes, they lost a tower, but look at the amount of pressure they're putting in the bottom lane. If they chose to push, they probably could have got that, but the fact of the matter is they've got damage on turrets already. It's just a case of kind of converting that to extend their lead further.
Yeah. Second level of Requiem, 172 second cooldown, so it is coming down by 20 seconds, but still a pretty beefy cooldown to be contending with.
Yeah. It's pretty large cooldown, but then again, it is a game-changing ability.
Yes.
So, you know, I wouldn't want to see it with like the cooldown of a Shockwave.
That would be sad times. that would probably be Karthus banned every game, I'd imagine.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wouldn't be good.
People hate Karthus already enough. You don't need them to start riots and things. But regardless, everything said and done, Karthus currently finds himself 1 and 2, but I did say before, won't be that bothered about dying. Mid lane Perks is going on him once again. Wall of Pain does enough to get Sigu back towards his own tower. And still, at bot lane, the farming continues.
The farming does continue. Still, they've maintained that 20 CS lead on the side of GSI, which, you know, for them is a good position to be in, but I don't feel like they've used this Braum Lucian lane to its strength here, and it's because a Twitch Thresh lane can be pretty difficult to kill when you take into account the Dark Passage, but here comes Taiki to try and turn it.
Yeah, there's a death sentence though. Cedrian is getting blocked out from Mountain, who's done a great job. I have to say, Mountain there really stepping up for his AD carry, keeping him alive. Mid lane will be falling to GSI, but they are trying to make the plays, and that's what we were saying before, that they have to do this.
A little bit of miscommunication there by GSI. The Glacial Fissure just became available at the tail end of the gank. Had they waited a couple more seconds, Braum would have really been able to maybe solidify a kill there, and actually gets pulled into the turret.
He does, and that's going to be the Glacial Fissure right now. Mountain again blocking it out for his AD carry. Shockwave comes in. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. And Perk secures himself his 3rd kill. Ooh, Dragon's Descent round from the side of Mozilla. Desperate for this one onto Sigu. Double kill as well from Orianna. Looking for the triple on towards Elise, who has to back on away past the tower. There's the rappel coming back down again. Not enough to pick up that one.
Not enough to pick the kill up, but it's a big distraction tool because at the same time, over in the top lane, Pronbear has already taken down the tower. That's going to get answered by this tower, I would imagine. Hiva has to be careful here. One turret shot from falling, pretty much, but they trade towers there. The kills, however, went in favor of GSI, and they are now up to 4 towers total. They've started to build that kind of momentum here against Faculty, and they've closed the gold gap. It's only 1,000 between the two teams now.
Very, very close indeed, but we have said this before. Late game, you have to favor more than likely in Faculty to come out ahead. Unless something goes pear-shaped, they should be all right late game. It's just whether they can get there or not, really.
Yeah, you would imagine so, as I would not be surprised to see that. Am I correct in thinking that is a completed Seraph's Embrace?
It is indeed from Karthus, so that is a big spike. Not in just visual onto Zedrian, trying to isolate him from the rest of the fight. Unbreakable from Hiver as well. And there's the Dragon's Descent to secure the kill. Orianna has fallen. Krislin now, without that flash just beforehand, had to pop it. He's going to die as well. 2-4 trade thus far. Could turn worse. Double killing for Irelia. Looking for the triple and picks it up with ease.
Picks it up with ease indeed. And Requiem, I believe, is due up pretty soon as well. Not going to be in time for Evelyn to come up, but that was a fight without their big finishing blow to the team. Had they had Requiem, that would have been an even, well, a less close fight there. Now Requiem is available, and the other thing that Karthus will have is a great Baron clear. You know, when you've got an Irelia who's going to have good damage, Elise is going to have percentage damage, Karthus is going to have great damage on that Baron as well. They should be able to get this pretty quickly here, and you can see it's already dying. However, it's going to be a smite war.
Ikey wants this one, but he's been stunned, he's been slowed, and he's been killed, and that will be Baron on top of it from Elise. So it just went from bad to a lot worse for GSI in the space of, what, 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and lots of gold as well. You got 4 players on over 1,000, 3 of them are close to 2,000.
It was looking better for GSI, but they took a fight which, I'll be honest, I thought Faculty should have been behind on. They didn't have Karthus in the middle of the fight to start. They had a weird angle, and Twitch wasn't able to get that rat-a-tat-tat onto multiple members, but they ended up kind of just letting Faculty reposition. And from there, they got Karthus into the fight, Karthus did the damage, and everybody cleaned up.
I'm just curious as well, after seeing Krislin pick up the Ghostblade again, he did this earlier on in the day as well. Where do you sit with Twitch builds? Are you a fan of the Ghostblade, or do you prefer the more conventional Phantom Dancer or Static Shiv?
So I honestly prefer the more conventional way, but we've seen this a fair amount. That extra movement speed, the extra attack speed it's going to give it is great when you consider Twitch's kit. You want to get in there, you want to deal that damage as fast as possible and get out. We've seen a lot of aggressive Twitch players that are just going hell for leather all the way in. We saw it earlier with Roughnecks with that, you know, the Twitch with Zillion gave him the extra speed, goes in with the bomb attached. It's kind of that kind of mentality. You want to get as close and deal as much and then get out. And Thresh is going to provide him that exit. But, you know, I feel like there's a lot of consistent damage that is lacking once you've popped that Ghostblade and it's no longer available.
Yeah. I would certainly go along with that as well. But hey, he's making it work for him so far. Hiva has just been caught there from the cocoon. Not enough minions to back up the push. And again, this is what we were talking about before. Orianna's just kind of, I was going to say king wave clear. I guess queen of wave clear would be more apt.
Indeed. Now, Zephyr has been completed onto Irelia. That, Pulse was talking a little bit earlier about that and how that's just typical for the damage build on Irelia. However, Hook lands in the middle lane.
And they're going to be jumping on top of this one. Perks, Shockwaves, only Sigu. However, Hiva is round, trying his best to keep the rest of his team alive. But that's 2 kills without retaliation. Could soon become 3. Cocoon lands this time on Chrisland. And damage has been done. They pick up a tower in mid. They pick up a tower at bot lane. This has gone pear-shaped for GSI. They're trying to mount somewhat of a comeback, but Evelyn will fall down to Sigu. Cedrian is now being chased from Mozilla, but he's been death sentenced, more than likely going to fall as well. This is massive for Rent Faculty, and they pick up yet another tower. Prombear's just going straight for the inhibitor.
For the entire duration of that fight, Chrisland was channeling the culling at Mountain. And Mountain didn't die from it. There was no extra damage from the AD carry. There was no way of converting that. And just, again, Requiem sets things alight, gets the kill onto Eve, puts Mozilla low enough that they can chase that, and the death sentence was used. The Dark Passage was used, this time as an aggressive tool to get Twitch into range, and 2 inhibitors now have gone down in favor of N Faculty. So GSI are really up against it now, and they are playing to prevent themselves from being 0-3 in Group B.
Do or die. That's the situation Chrisland himself spoke about on Twitter. So far, it looks like the latter of those options. What can GSI do from this position, Stress?
Put their head between their knees and pray. That pretty much is it. As this is a one-way flight to 0-3 in bottom of the group, unfortunately for GSI. I mean, they're a fairly new roster from what I'm led to believe. They were picked up by GSI in the last week or so. This is the starting point on a road to, you would have to imagine, Coke Challenger, but, the build-up there in the way to LCS, but it is still a very, very important first step that they kind of are faltering at, and this is not a very typical composition out of M Faculty, and they've thrown a couple of curveballs today. They threw us Kale jungle earlier, they've thrown us Karthus mid, who, I guess, Anivia's come back. Alliance are playing a lot of Anivia, Froggen, Anivia, you'd imagine that. But it's that wave clear, it's that zoning, it's the protection on the AD carries that is really making it difficult to deal with, and we're seeing that out of M Faculty.
Yeah, they're keeping Cedric alive. He's died twice. He's not had the biggest of impacts, but it doesn't matter because it's like I said in the Champion Select, multiple threats, multiple targets. You can't just deal with Twitch because then you've got Karthus on your back. You've also got Irelia just darting in between everybody. So now they're going to go for that final inhib tower and inhibitor itself. They're just going to wait for the super minions to push the other lanes and wait for someone to have to deal with that before pushing in more.
Yeah, and being patient is something they have to be, but GSI are going to try and force the issue.
Oh, they're going to try and make that last stand right here, right now. In doing so, they are going to fall a player down, soon to become a double kill for Twitch right here. And this could be last chance saloon for GSI. Even if they can fend off this onslaught, they're going to be in a 3v5 situation with their third inhibitor falling down. And this is pretty much game, set, and match.
Yeah, this is going to be no return here for GSI. Death sentence didn't quite land, but it wasn't even necessary because, I mean, N Faculty now have 3 super minion waves. Flash Flay comes out from Mountain, and Chrisland is going to fall too.
Yeah, that is pretty much the last line of defense. First Nexus tower will be falling. Here comes the second one. Cedrion's trying to get his life back. Mozilla actually from the side, and Orianna picks up the kill, but again, Karthus is okay with this. He's going to be able to put down the wall of pain, spell out the lay wastes. Here comes Prombear as well with that. GA is doing a lot of damage to the Nexus, but it looks like GSI are going to manage to survive just for a tiny bit longer. Their Nexus is taking a pounding, though.
Cedrion.
Obvious finally goes down, and that is going to be the game.
Oh, Cedrion stealths his way into the back of the Nexus.